is Jennifer David with Disability Indiana. Thanks for joining us. Today I have a special guest here. His name is Jeremy Warriner, and he has come on to talk about the Unconference. And I am going to turn it over to him as much as possible. I will likely butt in with all my little questions, but here we go. Take it over, Jeremy.
Thank you so much, Jennifer. It's a pleasure to be with you today. I'm Jeremy Warner, and I am coordinating an unconference specifically for people with disabilities in Indiana who want to become leaders within the disability community. And by that, we don't necessarily mean having to join a board or become the chair of a board or the president of a corporation or anything like that, though that certainly is a part of leadership. But we are looking for people who want to be leaders within the disability community by helping connect that community across the state by showing up at public meetings and representing the diverse community and culture that people with disabilities are a part of. Um,
Now,
so
I'm going to ask you, now you are a part of the disability community. Do you mind sharing a little bit of your story so
not at all.
people can get a little frame of reference here?
So my background actually, I grew up in Indiana, had no identifiable disabilities as a child or even a young adult. When I was 30, I was managing a hotel on a college campus and commuting back and forth from Indianapolis to that campus every day when a 16-year-old turned left in front of me on a county road. Uh,
Wow.
6 weeks later, I awoke from a medically induced coma at a burn unit at what was then Wishard Hospital. It's same burn unit that's at Eskenazi Hospital now.
I remember
And
Wishard.
yeah, they are amazing. And
Hmm.
I had sustained fourth degree burns to my lower
Oh,
legs.
wow.
I had some other injuries as well, but in order to keep me alive, they had to amputate both of my legs from above each knee. And so that launched me into the disability community. It has
Yeah.
been 20 years of adapting and learning, and
And I'm
people ask me.
assuming you're still adapting and learning every single day.
Exactly, yes, and people constantly ask that, and uh,
People that are going through, like myself, people that are going through it now, even though I've always had a disability, I've just recently learned about that. Um, that's why I wanted to be involved in this unconference, is because I want to learn from other people and get that support and encouragement and tips.
and this
And
is true is a great opportunity for that. We are limited to a space of 50 attendees, so we are doing, as you know, an application and an interview process.
how
Um,
many do
we,
you have now?
we actually have over 70 applicants, and
Okay,
the reason that we are still holding it open is because the disability community is so diverse
it
and
is.
crosses not only every demographic, but it also crosses every border, whether we're talking about counties or states or cities. And so within Indiana, we wanted to hold those applications open to get as close to that group as possible, or a group that's representative of that as
Hmm.
possible. Now, obviously, we can't. We wouldn't have enough room for everybody from for someone from every county necessarily, or
Well, sorry,
yeah.
I'm interrupting now.
No, go right
Um,
ahead.
I'm just gonna assume as part of this though that you're already gonna have built in, training the leaders to help train other people, right? So it can funnel
Exactly.
down to other people in their community, people that they may work with, friends and families to help them learn the same things that we'll be learning at the conference.
Exactly. This is very much a start of that. And the goal of the conference is to connect a well-informed, educated, and engaged disability community across the state.
We
Um,
need
so
it. I mean, I think people, politicians, people running for office, they overlook us so much. And we're actually one of the largest voting groups,
absolutely.
because we just cross all sorts of demographics. I mean, I think 60% of people in their lifetime will have some sort of disability. I mean,
Uh, that
that's
number
huge.
is significantly, probably significantly higher.
What
It's
do you
it's
think it
really
is?
I think it's closer to 90. I think it's
Well, it's probably
highly,
true. I
yeah.
mean,
Because disabilities come in all shapes and sizes and forms. Some we're born with and we have from the day we're born, whether or not we're even aware of it or our
yeah,
families are
right
even
here, right
aware of
here.
it, right? So, and so we come to find out as we go through our lives about these things that are simply a part of us that we carry with us that have been affecting us maybe at smaller levels when we were younger, but that grows over time. And then
Absolutely.
there's also disabilities that come through trauma like mine. Um, and then
Physical trauma, but then also emotional trauma.
absolutely, whether, yeah. And so that's the other piece of it. I myself did not recognize the emotional trauma until about 10 years after I went through the physical.
Really? Wow.
Yeah. And there were physical results of me not recognizing that for
Yeah.
some time.
That is so
So,
important. I hope you cover that. I have just a whole bunch to talk about with that because I myself, that's one of the reasons that I was starting to learn or suspect autism. And it is so huge with women and men that are undiagnosed, just end up with so many health issues. Not even people with autism, just if you have things in your life that, we don't always know that, hey, this isn't normal. I shouldn't feel this way all the time. Like my body shouldn't ache, fibromyalgia, which can often be misdiagnosed, with other things. It's just, we're so uneducated. Even the
and
disability community itself, which I have worked in my entire life, we are so uneducated.
absolutely. And so that is why we're approaching this as an unconference, which means that we're not going to have a railroad schedule of topics and rooms that you need to be in to hear a particular topic, while another topic is being discussed in another room that you would really like to be part of as well. We're all going to be in one room, and each day we're going to have ongoing conversations built around themes. And so the theme of day one is disability culture and history. And that's exactly what we're talking about right there and how
We're
that
gonna
will
be
fall
crying,
out.
right? I told you I'll be the one walking around crying.
Quite
That's just
possibly. You
hard.
won't be alone, like I said.
I know.
And so then the next day, and that night, we're actually asking everybody to go out into the world and to look for obstacles, whether they're physical, attitudinal, or programmatic, and to then come back so that on the second day of the unconference, when we talk about the theme of disability rights, we can talk about how those obstacles apply to certain pieces of legislation like the Americans with Disabilities Act and how to go about addressing the removal of those obstacles, um, including the ones that we put in front of ourselves because we're good at that.
Right.
So,
Oh yeah.
yep. And that also goes back to that culture piece.
Right.
So, then the third full day of the conference is going to be about advocacy and public engagement. And so that's everything from understanding what, for instance, organizations like Voc Rehab are here to support people with disabilities, or what Centers for Independent Living are supposed to be doing to support the
Right. So
community.
I am on the board with Centers for Independent Living, and I feel like I'm always learning.
Uh-huh.
I'm the secretary there, and always learning. I'm so excited because they have new people. Mike's been around for a while, and then we have a new person. Not exactly her position, but she's going to be doing a lot of the things that Mike was doing,
New
but just a lot of
operations
energy.
director.
And then
Yeah.
with other groups there. So, but Vogue Rehab, I don't know if people know this, but they used to do this in person, but now they do it online, but they do a series of like 4 to 6 sessions of trainings to help families, especially kids that are transitioning out of high school, young adults, learn about all the services and supports with Vogue Rehab. And there is a lot. There is a lot out there that people don't realize. Things for people, entrepreneurs, get your driver's license, communication devices, and things like that. Again, we're so, you know, uneducated in what's out there. So this
And
will be
that's
great.
And so, yeah, we will talk about what those organizations are there to do. And one of the things when you talk about it being hard to connect with resources or the direction of certain resources going sometimes not the direction that the disability community needs. It is also about us being engaged with those organizations and making certain that they are hearing from us about what we need so that we can, again, look at the fact that eventually 90% of the population at some point is going to
Right.
potentially face
Right.
a disability, whether it's their own or that of a loved one. And so understanding the resources that are there and having our voice in that public process and running for offices is
And being, you know,
absolutely
being on boards, even though, you know, the unconference is about being on boards, there's a lot of places like Head Start. I used to be on the board Minnesota 20 years ago, and I just spoke with somebody this weekend about joining the board here in Clark County. And that's just a wonderful opportunity for people with disabilities to kind of help shape maybe some of the services and supports they didn't get as a young person. Um,
and
but
even
also,
looking at boards that are not for disability related organizations to make
right.
certain that they are getting the disability perspective in their approach so that their organizations can be welcoming and inclusive for people with disabilities.
Absolutely. I know when with the work I do in Southern Indiana and then I ran for state representative, I intermingled a lot with a lot of other groups, like people with DCS, other people that were just part of just other community supports and like recovery groups as well. And I was often told, you know, you're the only person that works with people with disabilities that, you know, comes around. You know, primarily it's because of my agency, because I look at people and I tell them, like, you are a separate group, but you're not really. Like you were saying, being on boards that aren't about people with disabilities, but you are part of a larger group, whatever that group is, or multiple groups, and that we need to be in there and we can represent the disability community through all of those different organizations. And we need a lot more power like that, for sure.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So that is a lot what we're going to be talking about. And it will be
Yay.
conversations like this around those daily themes. So if anybody is wanting to apply, um, uh, via podcast, the easiest thing I could tell you to do would be to go to my website, which is
Yes.
walkingspirit.org.
Okay. I will put all that in there and the link for the
And to
conference as
go,
well.
yes, and I can actually share that in the
Oh,
chat.
okay. Yeah. All right. There we go. All right.
Wonderful. So to show you how to apply, the easiest way is to do it online. And so I'm going to, here we go, share my screen. So this is my website, walkingspirit.org. So all you have to do is type in walkingspirit.org.
I
And
like
when
your
you get,
legs.
oh, thank you. These are actually a generation older than my current set of legs.
The
Uh,
first time I heard you, you were talking about some legislation, I think with some insurance companies that were
yes.
limiting the types of legs or how often you could get people could get things
It's
replaced.
essentially, yeah, that is a piece of legislation that did not pass. Basically, the current setup is that insurance companies are only required to get you a set of legs that will allow you to ambulate. But if
Not to
you
like live life to the fullest.
right. So it allow you to walk, but if say running is an activity of daily living that you would continue to do with the right type of prosthetic, this piece of legislation which was called "So Everyone Can Move," or "So Everybody Can Move,"
Yes.
would allow or would require insurance companies to provide activity-specific prosthetics so that amputees can continue maintaining those important aspects of their daily life.
Well, yeah, that makes such a difference. So,
I swim 3 days a week, and I swim a mile 3 days a week just with my arms. It would be a wonderful experience and healthier for me even yet to be able to have prosthetic swim legs
oh
so that
yeah,
I could engage those parts of my body as well. So not that they're not engaged while I'm swimming, but to be at that original or as close to it as the prosthetics would allow
right.
level of activity. So
Right.
that piece of legislation did not pass in the last session. It also did not pass in the session before, but I believe they are intending to continue to move forward with that. So, so yeah, the set of
Something to look
legs
out for.
that you see there have an artificial intelligence that reads how I'm moving my upper body and
Oh, really?
anticipates what I want them to do. And so once I move my hips, it knows I want to walk. Once I put my leg into the right position to start climbing a flight of steps, it activates the stair ascent mode and actually gives me a push down into each step so that I can lift myself up.
That's
Um,
all AI?
that's AI and motors and robotics, and
That's
yeah,
awesome. Wow. We'll have to do like 5 other episodes on for fix.
we can absolutely do that. So, getting back
All
to
right,
the
here we go.
unconference, if you want to apply to the unconference, type in walkingspirit.org, go to the events page, which
It
it
might have minimized. There we go.
That's interesting. I don't know why it was doing it that way. Okay. So on the events page, the very first thing listed should be the Disability Empowerment Unconference. Nothing about us without us. We have the information about the dates, August 27th through the 31st. The unconference is being sponsored by Everybody Counts Center for Independent Living. Well, Everybody Counts Inc. And they are covering for each attendee the hotel room, their parking, and 2 meals, breakfast and lunch, during the conference or the unconference sessions. We are bringing in some national leaders like Jim Ward from ADA Watch and Anita Cameron from Not Dead Yet to help facilitate the conversations. But this won't look like your typical conference where these folks are going to be up on a
Standing up
stage
front,
delivering
talking.
lecture. So, so you click here to apply, and once you click that, it will take you to the Google form where you can enter your information and apply.
Awesome. Very
So,
easy. I did it. And I will get stuck on things that are too difficult and move on if I can't do it quickly sometimes. So I did that fairly easy a couple months
yes,
ago. So, well, I'm
good.
excited. I'm excited to see applicants. I did share yesterday on some Facebook pages, and I'm going to throw this out there into the world. And
Thank
I
you.
also included a list of disabilities because people just don't think of asthma was one that was on there. I was like, I didn't think of, but
I,
I mean, that just so much affects life so much, especially
severe
here in
sleep
Indiana.
apnea.
Huh?
There are so many, like severe
There
sleep
is.
apnea,
Yeah.
diabetes.
Oh, yeah.
There's so many hidden disabilities that a lot of folks who have just consider a medical condition and not a actual disability that is impacting their daily life. And it is really when you look at how it impacts your activities of daily living.
Well, I think
And
we need to do a better job of educating the world on disabilities because so alcoholism was on there. Now, I know that that is a disability because I remember at some point, I don't know, maybe it was last century when they added that to the list of disabilities for protections like with jobs.
yes, and understanding how that works, that is part of what we are going to talk about is where that applies and how the ADA applies to alcoholism, which my understanding is that you do need to be either recovering or in treatment to
Mhm.
be able to access the protections afforded by the ADA.
Right?
So,
Yeah. 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 I firmly believe, and I know the research is going to come out here eventually, is that a lot of people in recovery are undiagnosed, autistic, undiagnosed, probably a lot, ADHD, a lot of other things. And I mean, I speak with people all the time, and I've been speaking with people recently in my community that have had families with generations of drug and alcohol addiction, and like all of a sudden, one of the family members gets diagnosed with autism, and it's like, maybe this is it because 80% of people with autism use drugs and alcohol. So,
and so, right there, there's an important reason not to judge somebody because of their struggles and their challenges, and instead go to that place of empathy, go to that place of support, and maybe that support is just supporting that person to dig deeper and find out what these things might actually just be symptoms of,
Oh
and
yeah.
how do we get to the real thing that needs to be not treated medically but accommodated socially to be able to be independent.
Medically and psychiatrically. I mean, I think so. The
Too.
first rule is when there's behaviors or changes in life, you need to rule out medical first. And then they start with the drugs. And like for example, like with autism, so many people are misdiagnosed. ADHD the same way. Or even if a lot of like with fibromyalgia and some of these other disabilities, people go for years and years and years and are just, oh, it's depression, oh, it's this, oh, it's that, and not even really helping that family or that person discover that disability.
Right.
And then you feel like a failure. People can feel like a failure on top of that, and that could just honestly lead to other disabilities. Like, you're talking about early on with, with health and stuff like that. Well, we could just go on and on,
We absolutely
unfortunately.
could, and I am happy. So one of the important things is people being able to, and if we wrap up on this, this is great.
Yes. Okay. We must.
People being able to self-identify as a person with a disability. And that
Yeah.
doesn't mean having a medical diagnosis. That doesn't even mean being able to put a name on it, but being able to say, I have a disability that impacts my daily life this way.
Right.
And once you can look at how it impacts your daily life, then you have that revelatory moment of how has this affected my education, my career? How do I begin to accommodate it now so that I'm the one in control of these aspects of my life?
Well,
Uh,
I would like to see you add on, if you don't in this, how do you do that as a person with a disability, especially as somebody that acquired a disability or didn't know they have one like me, because that has been kind of my experiences now, which my family has come a long way. We're actually, autism is very hereditary, so we're all working together to help support each other. But that is very hard, and people don't really know how to do that. People like me who work in the helping profession, like we're so great with advocating for other people, which is one of the reasons I put on my application. I wanted to come to the unconference is that I'm not so good with advocating for myself. So,
right.
but
And
recognizing that you have to recognize first,
very much so.
to even advocate for yourself. So,
And advocacy, while it is a specific theme on that third full day, advocacy is going to be an overriding theme throughout the
the whole
entire
time.
month.
Yeah. Yeah. How
So,
can it not, right?
so yeah,
That's what we
so
have to do.
we are excited to do that.
Yeah.
We are probably only going to hold the applications open for another couple weeks, but again, we
Okay.
are
Well, that's
doing
good.
specifically because we want to be sure that we put together a group that is as close to the representative of the real, truly diverse disability population in Indiana, which is
Right.
diverse from a disability standpoint, diverse from a gender standpoint, diverse from a culture standpoint, as it
Right.
crosses all demographics.
Right.
Uh,
Well, I'm
so
excited to see and to meet all the people that there. So, well, I appreciate you coming on. I'm going to share this as much as possible and hopefully help get you some more applicants. I'll send it to you. You can share it as well.
wonderful. Please do. Thank you so much.
Thank you.